Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out Flight Sim Factory's A320 Pro Series add-on set for the Honeycomb Bravo Throttle Quadrant. We're going to be going over the unboxing, installation, and the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, the amazing, and everything in between on this particular throttle set. The developer has designated this throttle set as his flagship option, and I'm going to tell you why. Stick around.
If you are interested in any of my tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below.
OverKill simulations, watch us as we fly. OverKill simulations, a thrill will never die in the heart.
Okay, pilots, so first off, just enjoy the unboxing experience. We're not going to really go through any of the great detail. Big thing is you guys can see the QR code there up at the top of the box. That brings you to a video that walks you through absolutely everything from the installation, configuration, and setup within inside of the respective simulator. So in this case, Microsoft Flight Simulator tells you how to set the controls and all that jazz. The other big thing that I want to point out is these require almost no effort on the end user's portion within inside of the simulator. No curves, no tweaking, no weird things that you have to do in order to make everything work. He sets the detents up in a way, or I should say the actuation up in a way where it's literally plug and play. You set your axis and you're good to go. There's a few things you have to set, for example, like the spoiler arms, flaps. You have to set your flap axis, but again, no crazy detents or anything like that that you have to set up. You simply just bind the axis and you're good to go. Yeah, like the spoilers, you'll have to set a reverser, obviously, in order for the reverse thrust to function properly. But again, he walks you through all of that in the installation video. The other kicker I'm not going to talk about, or I'm not going to do today, is we're not going to actually go into the sim. I find those videos to be a little less than awe-inspiring in my personal opinion, only because I want you guys to hear what my actual thoughts are and not that raw experience as I'm in the sim. I want you to hear the genuine truth behind it. I want you to hear me after the fact and hear my chance after I've had a chance to sort of sit back and think about how I feel about everything. So on certain videos like this, I don't actually go into the simulator, and this will be one of them, but I want you to understand why. The shock and awe experience is always fun, but I want you guys to have the raw thought after, the excitement has calmed down, what I feel about these. So let's get right into it. First off, as you guys can see, as we're assembling them to the Bravo Throttle Quadrant, they snap in absolutely beautiful. The design and overall quality of the prints is right on par. You can see that the detents here, they're using like a metal bearing and with a push and release. So you get what that does, and we're going to talk about that more in the final thoughts portion of this. But what that's going to bring you is a much smoother and much more precise feeling as you work through the detents. You can see that the spoiler switch had an up and down position for the arming option. We'll get into that, and you guys will see some of that later on as we get it fully assembled. But they look absolutely gorgeous. What I want you guys to focus on in this particular portion of the video is just the way everything is printed and how gorgeous all the labeling is. I mean, it looks really clean, and I think that was the first thing that caught my eye as I was coming out of assembling this, and that's why I decided also to do a voiceover of this particular video. As again, I wanted to have time to sort of sit back, think about it, put the awe and shock and awe aside for a second, and really get a chance to think about the quality. I have been using Flight Sim Factory's products for quite some time now. I've done multiple reviews of his products here on the channel. The original A320 set, the 737 set. I have the Boeing 777 set, which I use still to this day quite frequently, as well as the 737 set. And I will absolutely give the developer this. I think deeming this particular set his flagship option is definitely right on par. The features and overall design that was put into the making of this particular set is astounding. Honestly, it sort of pushes the Bravo to its limits, if you will. Everything from your, autopilot release button, your toga buttons, excuse me. Actually, I guess that would be the go around buttons, to the reversers and the way they're sent, to the detents and the way they're sent, You guys can see I sort of struggle here for a minute. It's sort of weird when, I had the camera over it, so I was trying to, I couldn't really bend in a way where I could see where I was doing, but it snapped right into place once you get it down. The actuation of the throttle immediately, by the way, caught my attention. Like it was a big change. Obviously, something that I talk about lots is the scaling. Having that one-to-one scale, especially when you have large hands like mine, really changes everything. Yep, you guys saw it. I almost put that on backwards. But the scaling is a really big kicker to these as well. And I know there are multiple developers that do these. And this isn't a comparison to anyone. It just Flight Sim Factory happened to be who I work with the most. And I find an incredibly enjoyable experience in using his products. And so again, this is in no way meant to, say that he's better than one developer or the other. This is just my thoughts from Flight Sim Factory. I absolutely love his products. So from the remainder of this portion, we've completed the installation now. I did 2 full complete flights in the Airbus A320 in the fly-by-wire. And really got a chance to experience them, and then waited until the next day before recording this next segment, which are my final thoughts on this product. So I hope you guys appreciate the review, and here it is. Okay, pilots, so now let's go ahead and talk about the final thoughts of this product. Now, you guys can probably already guess where I'm going to go with it. It's definitely getting the 2 thumbs up from me, but let's talk about a little bit more in detail as to why and what separates this particular version from the other versions that I have used in the past, whether we be talking about the Boeing or Airbus sets or other developers. Now, as we spoke about in the beginning of the video, Flight Sim Factory definitely shines when it comes to commercial aircraft. But hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, it sounds like that might be changing in the future. We'll see what happens. Now, when we speak to this particular set, the biggest thing that I think separates the Pro series from any other series is just the overall quality and refinement of the build. There are far more features that make it seem much more realistic and much more well made. Not to say that any of the previous versions are less than. I will say that as well. Any of his products that I have used, I have absolutely enjoyed. I still use the 777 model to this day. I use it on a pretty regular basis, as well as the 737 set. I am much more of a Boeing pilot than I am an Airbus, but not to fault one over the other. However, stepping up to this particular set, the biggest thing that stands out to me is the way it feels. Not so much as the way it looks. Don't get me wrong, it looks absolutely gorgeous, as we've discussed multiple times during this video. But the way it feels is definitely a major difference and caught my attention very, very quickly. The moving of the axis with the metal ball as your detent control, if you will, or what actually slides in that detent, that metal rivet underneath it, or bearing, excuse me, really makes a huge difference in the way it feels. And I don't know if it's the same as the one before or just the overall construction, but there is something significantly different about how it rolls through the different detents. This build with the increased throttle tension is going to make a huge difference in your overall flight experience. Then you get into the overall manufacturing construction. You guys can see here just the overall design, your indication points, and the screws and the way that it all sort of fits together. You get a much different feel. The buttons, very, very similar to the other versions that have the electronic features in them, but obviously these much more refined again. The reverse levers. These are probably one of the best ones that I think he's made yet. I don't know if there's anything different, or maybe it's a placebo effect in this particular case, but the overall design of them and the printing of them is significantly better, I feel. One of the things I really enjoy about this particular set, again, is the requirement to lift those reversers out in order to really get down into the gates of reverse and really enjoy that to its fullest extent. So again, I don't know if I showed you guys before, but as long as your throttles are properly seated and you push the reversers forward, when you come down, you guys can sort of hear that. And it's requiring a lot more force, by the way. I'm sure you guys can hear the crank, 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 crank. Anyway, so bring your reversers up, and you get a nice smooth action all the way through your reverse axis. So it's much, much better. The flap controller, obviously another major kick here, or the speed brake, sorry, spoiler control. being able to lift that up and actually arm it is a significantly different experience than anything that I've felt before in regard to the tension, the feel, and the precision of the action. The action feels very precise, again, very intended. There's no wiggle, there's no wobble, there's no sloppiness in the movement. It is very direct, very straight up and down, very smooth, but very intended. Okay, so you're not going to accidentally trip that one way or the other, and it doesn't feel like a toy when you do it. It doesn't feel toyish. It feels very, very, again, professionally made. I don't know how to get over that particular description. So my final thoughts on this, as you guys can already tell, it's definitely worth the money. I think they are a fantastic set, especially if you are a very avid Airbus pilot. Now, this is for the A320 series, but as you guys know, most Airbus aircraft are very, very similar in overall design. So I could even see this rocking with the A350. The A350 is another twin-engine aircraft, very popular right now, especially with the latest any builds release. And this would be the perfect set to match yourself up with your Honeycomb set. I really, really recommend all of his stuff for commercial flight. My biggest ones are the 737, the 777, and this Airbus kit now has just taken the lead. But his previous Airbus set is what I was using before. But this set here, his 777 and the 737, I highly recommend. I think they are his best designs thus far that I have had the pleasure of using, and I definitely think that you guys would like these as well. As always, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget there is a link to this down in the description below if you guys are interested. And as always, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next one.